You well, you didn't have to explain nothing yet.
No, it's still okay. Here we go.
Oh, I think they're red though. Are they red?
They are close.
God,
So
aggravating me really bad today.
it's time to
Oh,
breathe in on the
there we
latest
go.
Breath of Fresh Air
I
webcast.
thought you were holding off. I didn't think you were going to hit it. I thought you were holding
No,
off before I take my
no,
eyes.
sorry, Patrick, it went live on me.
I thought you
So,
were holding off, man. All right, sorry. Let's do
you're
it.
okay. So here we are. It's time to breathe again on the latest Breath of Fresh Air webcast, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You got me kind of discombobulated over here, messing
I
with
know,
your eye.
right?
You say, "Are you okay?"
Oh yeah, I'll be fine. Yeah, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. They'll lubricate themselves up here in a minute.
So as Patrick deals with his eye troubles, I'm gonna introduce these topics here, but it's really not too much introducing a whole bunch of topics as it is just it's centered around one topic, and that is the state of the league. So I figured this would be a good idea to talk about these things since right now we have Major League Baseball's All-Star game playing at this moment. And of course, with them being at their All-Star break, you have all four major sports, baseball, football, basketball, and hockey, either in their off season or they're doing whatever activities. The NBA has their summer league games going on, but they're not like actual games being played. Well, in the regular season, I'll say. So I figured this would be a good time to discuss what we feel, how we feel about these leagues going forward, where they are currently. I mean, obviously, a lot of money's getting brought in, understandably so, but where do we see these things going in the future? So since we are in the middle of baseball right now, Patrick, we'll just go ahead and start with MLB and see how we feel about the sport right now. Do we like the gameplay? And so this is just like a general, we're just going to open everything up. So do we like the gameplay? Do we like the tone of the games? Are the games too long? Are they too short? Have they been sped up? How do we feel about the analytics of the game and some of the other outside factors that could come into it, like gambling, for an example? More on that part in a minute, because I had heard what the commissioner, Rob Manfred, had said about being concerned about the gambling in terms of players being threatened. So yeah, it's a lot to take in and I guess try to break down. But how do you feel about the state of baseball and another aspect of it, marketing? Do you think they're marketing better than they were before?
No.
So yeah, just open it up, Patrick, and man, throw it all out there.
We'll go from there.
Yeah.
Okay. So well, first of all, I didn't know you were going to go in that direction with it. I knew you were going to open. I knew you said we're going to open it up to general conversation.
Oh, okay.
But it's funny because like I'm glad you went in this direction. I'm glad you went in this direction because here's the thing. What they are doing in MLB opposed to what they're doing in college baseball or opposed to what they're doing to Little League World Series and so on and so forth. Look, the thing is that there's so much controversy going in MLB that it almost makes it hard to watch. You know what I'm saying? So you got all of these whatever gate. You know what I mean? Spider gate and sticky web gate and lower the mound gate and raise the wall gate and whatever else they're doing to
sticky gate. Sorry, I just say that.
Whatever they're doing, whatever gate that Richard Nixon has opened at this point, it kind of takes away from so much of the baseball. Because here's the thing is like, even after all the drug abuse stuff that was going on in MLB, right? It didn't like kill the sport. What's killing the sport is the consistency of what they're doing. And this is like the players and then the managers and, MLB in general. it just making it a hard product to watch, right? Now, everybody, and another thing that's making it a hard thing to watch is this glamour stat of hitting a home run every time. I mean, like strikeouts are up, way up. You know what I mean? They took away from the shift in baseball, which I don't understand. Like that never really made sense to me. Like, who cares where you're playing? If the batter doesn't want to, if the batter doesn't want to get out because he's a pull hitter, then go opposite field. I mean, this is what baseball is about. You know what I mean? So to me, as a whole, MLB has kind of made the product hard to watch. Now they have put certain things in there, like I didn't think I was going to like it because I pitch clock. I didn't think I was going to like it, but you know what? It has improved the game. It really has. Overall, it has improved the game. They took a few rules out that probably should have been taken out a long time ago. General vicinity rule, and all those things. So I mean, they have tried in many ways to make it, but the thing is that, like, to me, shifts were part of the game, and in that case, I kind of feel like they have kind of ruined the product and I guess kind of watered it down, because I just kept watching college baseball all season, and I was so excited about watching it, because to watch college baseball and then to watch MLB, it was like watching two totally different sports. And I'm super pumped about Little League World Series. And I mean, I can tell you that there's a few, I could tell you who's winning the divisions and stuff like that. But other than that, have I really sit down and watched MLB? Not really. And that's sad, because I love baseball. That's my sport to everything. And it's hard for me to even watch MLB.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you with the quality of play in the sport. Well, in MLB, I think there has been marginal improvement. And I didn't like this rule when they came out with it, but you remember they decided they were going to make the bases a little bit larger. And I guess what has happened with that is stolen bases have gone up. So there's a little bit more small ball, a little bit more strategy that's implemented with players more willing, I guess, to steal bases than they were before. It's still primarily a home run strikeout game, which I'm not the biggest fan of that. And that's crazy to me, because I think about the teams that win, the teams that actually go on and win World Series. I get the money aspect. I know that makes everybody go around. I get it. But if you are going to win World Series titles, championships, you have to be multiple. If you're a home run strikeout team, you're not winning. That's been proven. Now that
New York Yankees,
that could be part of the formula, but you better have some pitching. Mm-hmm. You better be able to play small ball. You better be able to win some 3-2, 4-2 games.
Don't get me wrong. Long ball is part of the game. Yeah. It is part of the game. I'm not saying that you need to take it out, and neither are you, and we know that. What we're trying to say is instead of making it a priority part of the game, make it a part of the game, because it still takes all of these other things to win a game.
Yeah, if you're going to win a championship, you have to be able to, again, we talk about it all the time, you have to be multiple. You have to be able to do different things, because the same thing is not going to win every game. And you might be able to win a couple of 9-8, 10-7 games by hitting 4 or 5 home runs, but that 2-1, 3-2 game, you're going to have to win one of those, if not 2 or 3 of those.
And through the season, we're probably looking at like maybe 15 or 20. Oh.
So, I mean, but I do think the quality of play is being enhanced a little bit because of them making the bases a little bit larger. Mm-hmm. And it's brought some stolen bases back.
But that also is the reason why they got rid of the general vicinity rule, is because the base is bigger. So for me, I liked the idea of it being bigger because I did feel it was going to change the aspects of many parts of the game. I like the stolen bases part. I would love it. To me, I wish they would have got bigger when Yachty was catching. That would have been freaking sweet. I would have seen how good he would be with that. I mean, I still think he's going to be throwing people out all the time, but I mean, because I don't think a bigger base was going to make that man miss. You know what I mean?
Right.
He was still throwing people out 4 or 5 feet, still sliding in. You know what I mean? So, but I like that aspect of it. Because I knew I was going to have to give something up to gain something. And if I was having to give up bigger bases to get rid of the general vicinity rule, I'm all about that. Because that was like my hugest thing. I hated that rule with a passion. You know what I mean? So I was willing to give that up to get rid of that. That was the dumbest rule. I hated that rule. So to me, it was fine. But I also can see how some people wouldn't like that rule as much. You know what I mean? I get it, because I mean, bigger bases means everything gets easier. But to me, I just feel like if everybody would learn to slide and they make it part of the game instead of putting that mid on, that mid gives them like an extra inch and a half or something like that. That much can change the difference out of a stolen base and an out. Yet they approve it. So see, to me, that wouldn't even be in the game. You don't know how to slide, you might want to fix how you slide, or you're going to be breaking some fingers. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's I think that was the part that I wasn't a big fan of at first. Like I said, I don't mind it now. I actually like it because it has enabled people to be willing to steal some bases. The mid, yeah, I agree with you. I remember we talked about it. Was it Bryce Harper who broke his hand or broke his fingers sliding? Yeah, you need to learn how to slide. And I think that was one of the driving forces behind trying to make the bases bigger, and then you can put the mitts on there. But the hands, you could tell, like it was fundamentally off.
Yeah,
the slide.
And if anybody wondering what we're talking about, go back and look. I can't remember who was playing, but Bryce Harper breaks hand or thumb. I think it was thumb. Bryce Harper breaks his thumb on a slide, and you'll see there is so many fundamentally things wrong with that slide. You'd be like,
and that's why the players, like, to me, at first anyway, when that rule came out, you're taking the adjustments that the players have to make. And I want to see the players make those adjustments. Mm-hmm. I want to see the players say, well, damn, if I slide this way, my thumb or my fingers are going to get broken. I might want to keep them palms up a little bit.
Keep them palms up a little bit, put that thumb up in the air. It'll help a little bit.
So, I mean, I think, but I mean, I guess looking at some of the other aspects of MLB, I mean, the marketing, there's no reason why players like Aaron Judge, I mean, Shohei Ohtani, he gets a little bit of run, but probably not as much as I think he should. Guys like Mookie Betts, I mean, take your pick. I mean, maybe it's Vlad Guerrero Jr. I mean, these players should get a little bit more run. Even some of the young players, like what the Baltimore Orioles have. Some of these guys should be getting marketed a little bit better. And I don't know who is in MLB's marketing department, but and I'm not one to advocate for people losing jobs, but damn it.
Somebody got to get it right.
Yeah.
And all you have to do, I mean, and it's not really a hard concept. I mean, like, there's many concepts that you can do, but you can have all the teams do their own marketing in their own city, right? That's not a hard thing to do. And you could put, so let's take Atlanta, for example, because I know it. You take Atlanta and they do their own marketing around town, right? And they can put in Acuna, and they can put in Olsen, and they can put in Riley. Name your pick, right? But Atlanta has to send their star to MLB, Acuna, right? So every city can do their own marketing within the city, and then MLB does their marketing within the nation. Every team sends their star to MLB. So Ronald Acuna would be the star for Atlanta. He would go up, and then when MLB does theirs, they got 32 people to pick from. 32 people. There you go. Run them in ads. Run them in whatever you got to do. Do it through ESPN. Do it through whatever. It's not that hard of a concept. And if you want to change the concept, then change the concept. I don't care. It's just the marketing for MLB has been horrendous. Bro, honestly, it's been bad. And if you can't get somebody like me who would love to watch baseball, you can't even get me to watch baseball because your marketing sucks. That's a problem. That's a problem.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. And this has been an ongoing problem for MLB. And I look at the other sports, which we're going to discuss here later on in the show. Those players. If you see these players, I guess the biggest way to judge this, or one of the best ways to judge this, is if you are walking down the street, can you recognize that player? If you know the players in the NFL, you'll see them. They'll be walking down the street. You can point them out. The same in the NBA. Hockey, maybe not as much, because as we'll touch on in a minute, I think hockey, though, they're like, hockey's cool with their fans. Like, I think hockey has found that place where they are good with the fans they have. If they get some more to come on, cool. But I think they're good. They found their niche. They found their pocket, and they're straight with that.
Yeah. And I respect that. As long as you know what you want, I'm good. Yeah. If you're not trying to break everybody's bank, and that's another thing, is like their ticket sales are very reasonable. I mean, on a bit high side, don't get me wrong, and if it comes to playoffs, hockey they're going to go up some. I get it. I understand. But man, for example, let's just say hypothetically, Georgia and Texas go to a SEC championship. Okay. People like me and you can't afford that fucking ticket. Sorry. Me and you cannot afford that ticket. We can't. There's no way. I can't even afford the tickets in the nosebleed. Hell, I can barely even afford the ones that's out on the street so I can watch it on the Jumbotron.
Yeah.
And the way inflation goes, I can barely watch it in my own house. That's the problem. It's so expensive to go and watch a football game nowadays that it's like, I mean, I could go and watch it at the stadium, but I'm gonna pay $500 per ticket. So for me and my family, that's $2,000. Plus, I have to travel to Atlanta, so that's another $2,000 for travel and hotel. Then I'm sweating my balls off because it's so dang hot outside. No air conditioner. And then I have to be around a bunch of cranky people who are mad because it's so hot outside. And I'm like, you bought the ticket. You know it's gonna be hot outside. You know what I'm saying? And then if your team is losing, it's even worse. So it's like, why did I even look? It's like this. I can watch it in my house. I can turn my air conditioner on whenever I want to. I get really good shots. None of the gnats are going around my face. I don't have sweat dripping off of me. I don't have mud butt. If I have to use the bathroom, I'll catch it during intermission. Go use the bathroom. I'm 15 steps away. If I have to use the bathroom over in a game, guess what? I'm in a line waiting. So, I'm like, you know what? Is it really worth going to the game?
So Patrick, we're going to come back and we're going to cycle around all sports. But to sum up MLB real quick, are you happy with the direction of the game before we move on to that?
Overall, I'm about 50-50. Overall, I'm about 50-50. I feel that there's some other things that they could do and that would fix the product up. but I do like the things that they have done. I really do like, and the things that they haven't done, I don't. I wish they would. I wish they would understand that you're marketing a baseball game to the 1%, and unfortunately, me and you are just not at that 1%. So
And
overall, 50-50.
And I think that will probably be the theme as we go through these other sports as well.
Probably.
And so with that, we'll go into the NFL, and
which is the worst one out of all of them with pricing.
And we had talked about that a little bit when we were talking about fans and how the true fans are getting priced out. It's probably not any bigger of a case than it is in the NFL right now. I mean, you see all the ticket sales that the tickets are pretty astronomical. And like you were talking about with with going to the stadiums and perhaps having gnats in your face and getting mud butt and going to the bathroom, standing in line, taking care of the parking that's going to be ridiculous, and not to mention the concessions for the food that you're going to try to get as well. At least in baseball, you have many games that you can come through and check out.
Yeah.
In the NFL.
I got one more thing about baseball.
Uh-huh.
The hot dogs suck now. The hot dogs suck. Do you remember when you used to get those real big hot dogs, man, and you're like holding it with two hands and you're like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now it's like, that's all I get for $20.
It's the size of the ballpark ones that you can get at Walmart.
Yeah. It looks like this. Here, hold on. It looks like this. This is all I get for $20.
Stop, dude. Stop. Alan Rich, really?
Yeah. I'm like,
what am I gonna do?
It's hard. It's as hard, and you're like, I can't even put ketchup on that.
Oh goodness. So remind me to come back to the prices at an MLB game. I'll tell you about when I went to a Washington Nationals game up here in DC in a little bit. But yeah, with the NFL, man, like you were talking about with the food. I mean, food prices are ridiculous. It is $5 for a bottle of water. It's crazy. And at least in baseball, you have multiple games where you can go. You got 81 games that you could try out, or maybe you could get a 5-10 game package or something like that, where you can check out some games, and it's pretty okay considering it could be pretty reasonable. Now, of course, that's just the ticket price, not accounting for everything else. In the NFL, I mean, these tickets are super high, parking super high, and then when you're looking at the actual game on the field, it's like flag football. And then on top of that, they're talking about, which this is going to happen, they're going to have an 18th game, and it's going to happen because there's just too much money involved, and the players can sit there and say, oh, we don't want to play 18th game, it's too much on the bodies. They're going to have 18th game because the money
they go to 20.
Yeah. And so, because they don't want the preseason games. So you have 3 preseason games. They're going to take one of those away. They're easily going to dispatch one of those, and they're going to cut it to 2. You're already doing joint practices anyway during preseason, which preseason is going to start in a week or so. But you're going to take one of those games away. It's going to be an 18-game regular season. It probably in the next few years, if not like next year, the way the NFL likes to operate. And it's going to continue to go up. It's hand over fist. This is a $20-25 billion industry annually now. And for this one, so like what you said with MLB, where you said you were 50-50, I'll go 55-45 with MLB. I'll be a little bit higher than you. I think Don't quote me on this, even though I'm being quoted right now. But I think
You're only quoting yourself.
yeah. but, but I do feel good about the direction of MLB. There obviously there can be some improvements, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's starting to come around. We'll see when they start adding these robot umps, which I think will be there in the spring training of next year.
Yep.
Well,
they're talking about it. I don't.
you
I
know,
would
they're
like.
gonna
I
have
would
it.
like to see if if it gets through, because that's expensive, and that's a lot of technology, and the way where they're having to put all of those plates for reading. I don't know if it's going to make it this year or this coming up year. I don't think it will.
I think it'll probably be a couple of years also before if it does get implemented. I do see it heading in that direction though.
Absolutely.
But with the NFL and football in general, I mean, just there's so much. It's just money just being hand over fist, and for the fans, it's the true fans out there who are ride or die representing for their teams. It's just tough to go to these games nowadays, and the product on the field, it's not as good because everything's a penalty. If you're anywhere close to being physical with players nowadays, they're throwing flags. And the NFL, they're not going to do anything about that because of the money. And that's the disconnect that I have more than anything else with the NFL, because they know these things are happening on the field. Players are playing the game. They're just playing the game. They're not being dirty at all. They're playing the game. And if you throw a quarterback to the ground somewhat hard, or if you make a good hit with the shoulder, not with the crown of the helmet, but with the shoulder, it's a defenseless receiver. Throw the flag, 15-yard penalty.
Yep. And here's the bad thing about that one is that, let's say it sticks, but you're automatically ejected from the game, right? But let's say they figure it out that it's not targeting, the penalty still sticks, but you get to stay on the field. So
that's the dumbest thing I've
ever heard in my life. You know, and they're like, well, that's not targeting. Okay, then why do they still get the 15 yards? It's not targeting. You know what I mean? It's like it's a win for both teams. Now we're just talking about participation trophies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everybody was in on the play. Great job, guys. So we're gonna still award them 15 yards, and you get to keep playing. Yay! Everybody wins.
Do they though? And so
we lose. Me and you, because it's like most of the time it's my team that always does targeting. I'm like, they're like, penalty on number 11. I'm like, we don't even have a number 11 on the field, and it's still penalty on him. And he got ejected, which is good because, you know, there's never a number 11 on the field, so we didn't lose anybody. But at the same time, they still got 15 yards.
And then
the pass interference. Oh my God.
And then again, like with the rules, how they call it, it just goes back to also the recent lawsuit that the NFL had over Sunday Ticket, and they have to pay. The ruling was they have to pay, I think, $4.7 billion back. And the NFL, they're just like, nope, we're going to appeal. And all right, I get it if you feel like you've been wrong, but the NFL to this point, they're one of these leagues that feel like they can't do any wrong. Like they are perfect, they are God, and nobody can say anything to them. And if something comes down to where it's like, hey man, this you were kind of price gouging here. No, we weren't. The NFL, we do nothing wrong, you know.
Everybody should pay $50,000 for a parking pass.
Yeah, like you're not fixing the problem. That you're saying to yourself, we didn't do anything wrong, so we're just going to continue to tie this up in litigation, so we don't have to pay back the 47 or the 4.7 billion dollars, because it's basically a stay, and as long as it's tied up in this litigation, they get to keep that money. But there is a fundamental problem that's not being fixed. In leagues like the NFL, they're just way too far up above with their head in the clouds to even see that, because they don't think they're doing anything wrong. They're blinded by the dollar signs.
Yep.
And that is the issue with a lot of these leagues. And I think it's a bigger problem in the NFL. Excuse me. It's a bigger problem in the NFL than any of the other leagues. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, we know there's lots and lots of money being made in these other leagues too.
Except for FIFA.
Oh no.
I won't get you started on that. Just pretend like I didn't say that.
No, because if you're gonna bring up FIFA, we're gonna bring up the IOC.
And IRS,
and the IRS and the NCAA. Yep, you might as well.
Everybody's stealing money from the little man.
Yeah, and it's just so bad, because we all want to get paid. Every one of us wants to get paid in some way, shape, or form. But when it gets to the point where you are pretty much slaughtering others, to the point where you're just saying, well, we will just kick the middleman and the lower man, because we're the ones who's getting paid and we're the ones getting the money. As long as we are the ones getting the money, nothing else matters. When it gets to that point, that's when you have lost all moral ground. You've lost all moral compass of what you were doing. And
you have no humanity about yourself.
At all. And you don't care. You don't care about, like you said, about us, the fans. You don't care anymore. Because your attitude, especially when it comes to the NFL, is, well, we're making all this money. Most likely they're going to watch anyway. And because they're going to watch anyway, we really don't have to change anything because they're going to watch. So there's fundamental problems that are there, but they're not trying to fix it because the money is just so big, they don't care. And that's sad to me.
Yeah. And that's the saddest part about it all. And like you said, I mean, like, look, we're hoping somebody picks us up on this, because I mean, look, let's be completely honest about the entire thing. It's like, look, we love sports. It's a great pastime for anything, you know, and we got all kinds of sports that just keep us interested throughout the entire year. Baseball,
it's the ultimate unifier.
Yeah, minus like tragedies, you know. Let's not count those, but minus tragedies that happen, whether it's a Boston bombing or whatever that case may be.
Catastrophic event.
Other than a catastrophic event, the only biggest positive thing that brings us together is a sport of some sort, right? And that's moving past, you know, like even with the four major sports that we're going to be talking about: baseball, basketball, football, and hockey, right? Well, you still have tennis, golf, WNBA, which is getting a lot more praise throughout, you know, this year because of two people, or whether, and don't get me wrong, there's more out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to discredit any of those women out there. There's a lot of good players out there, but let's be completely honest about the entire situation. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese has been the ones that drove that. You know what I mean? So women's basketball is coming up big. And that's not just the WNBA. That's college basketball. I mean, there's so many women that is in the college level that is driving that to be watched even more than most other sports nowadays. But not only do you have those, now you're getting all of this worldwide coverage of many other things. You can now watch cricket on TV. You can now watch what's another one?
Women's soccer.
Women's soccer, men's soccer, which I don't even know why we even watch that crap. But I mean, you got
golden generation, man. Golden generation.
I know, right? men's soccer is almost a flipping waste of time. You know what I mean? It's like, why are we even watching that? But I mean, Formula One, that's another one. And I pulled up a thing right here. So you got all the Olympics that's coming out in a couple of weeks. You know what I mean?
Starts next
Horse
Friday.
racing, NASCAR, and the list goes on, and it brings people together on so many different levels, because you might meet somebody that likes a sport that lives in a different place than you, and you get to see them and you get to meet them, and yeah, you may not be friends, but the one thing that y'all have in common is the fact that you got the Atlanta Falcons that y'all both like.
I love how you put the Atlanta Falcons in quotes.
Yes, I put the Atlanta Falcons in quotes because they have Kirk Cousins. And how many? And tell me how many teams can spend that much money and still lose?
Man, you are a disgruntled Atlanta Falcons fan. Absolutely.
I am a very disgruntled. The only thing that keeps me happy with Georgia right now is the fact that the Bulldogs are doing what they're doing.
Nah, you know what? But yeah, I mean, yeah, sports is that unifier.
Oh, and here's another one. One more. I got to mention this one. Sports betting.
Yeah, we're gonna get on. We'll get on gambling here in a little bit. Yeah,
I know. That's the reason why I had to put it back up.
But so before we get to the other two sports, are you happy with the direction of NFL and football as a whole?
As a whole, no, not even close.
I'm with you. I think I am probably 85% no.
I was right with you. 85
Yeah.
15, bro, without a doubt. 85, and honestly, I'm kind of being generous.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like for anybody who is watching this show and will watch this show when it is posted on the other forums, a lot of people will say, "Well, how could you be unhappy with the direction? You see all the money that is coming in. Oh my God!" And they're trying to expand.
Oh my God! Do I see any of it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, number one, we don't see any of that money. Number two, you're not thinking about the product. If you do have that mindset, and look, nothing wrong if you do have that mindset. We are all entitled to our own opinions.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But you're missing something there. Like there's a miscalculation going on to where you're not looking from the fan perspective. You're just looking at it from the money perspective. And of course, if you look at it from the money perspective, yeah, you're going to say business is booming, of course.
Yeah. But well, who's competing? That's the question.
Yeah.
Who's competing? Because the world will tell you, and the United States will tell you really quick, you can't have monopolies.
But there's a monopoly.
There's a monopoly in the NFL. There's a monopoly in the MLB. The NBA is a monopoly. The NHL is a monopoly. Tennis is a monopoly. PGA is a monopoly. Formula One is a monopoly. And they're sitting here telling us, like, you can't have a monopoly. But then they allow the rich to have a monopoly. I'm like, what am I missing here? What am I missing here? Because I can't have a monopoly, but you can. Okay. All right. Okay.
So let's get into the NHL, and I actually think this one will be pretty easy. I think you and I are in agreement that the NHL, number one, I think the direction of the NHL, I think it's good, and I'm pretty sure you would agree with it. But just like we said earlier, the NHL, they're good. Like they're
happy with where they're at.
Yeah, they're fine. Like they know they are in multiple countries. You have trying to think how many teams you have in Canada. 6 that I can think of right now. It could be more because you got Vancouver, you got Edmonton, you got Calgary, you got Winnipeg, Toronto, Ottawa, and
So you got
Montreal. Okay, so
Montreal,
7.
Ottawa, Toronto.
So you got 7. Then Winnipeg, Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton. So you got 7.
Yeah.
And then you have your teams in the States, of course, and you have warm weather teams who are winning, which can actually help add to the popularity of it, because for so long hockey has been known as your cold weather sport, played up in Canada, and then your cities in the Northeast, Boston, New York, Philly, DC, going over to Chicago, and then you have a team over in Seattle, Detroit also. But you have Florida. The Florida Panthers just won the Stanley Cup. The Tampa Bay Lightning have been pretty successful over the past few years, winning 2 Stanley Cups and being in another one before losing to Colorado. Mm-hmm. And the Vegas Golden Knights won a recent championship as well.
Your Dallas Stars.
Yeah, Dallas is right there competing, close to it. Can't quite get there, but they're knocking on doors. And so I think the NHL.
Carolina.
Carolina's good. I think the NHL is in a good place, and I think slowly but surely they're just kind of they're just expanding, but they're kind of just doing it at their own pace. I don't think they're necessarily in the rush. They know where they are in the pecking order, and they're not really doing too much in terms of expansion, although they may put another team. I know they just moved the Phoenix Coyotes up to Salt Lake City. But they look like they're happy where they're at. And frankly, I think the NHL is doing pretty good. I think I like the direction they're going into.
I mean, I don't have a problem with where they're going. I like where they're going, and I'll go ahead and tell you, I'm about 85%. I like it. I really do. They're not really trying to change a lot of what they're doing. I mean, they did have some rule changes a couple of years ago that kind of stopped a lot of the fighting. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a huge fan of these rules, but I understand the rule. That it makes sense. You know what I mean? But I'm also a huge person that believes that, if you take a center and he runs his mouth to a blue liner, somebody needs to stop him, because the thing is that at some point he's going to take it too far, and he's not going to hurt himself. He's going to hurt somebody else. When you don't put yourself in check, you tend to hurt yourself and your team, whether that's being by fights or injuries or whatever. When you play with that caution, especially in hockey, when you play with that caution, you kind of keep your mouth shut to people you don't need to be running your mouth to. And I'm talking about Sidney Crosby mostly, because he likes to run his mouth. He did not run his mouth for years. And then all of a sudden they make this little change and he starts running his mouth to blue liners. And then and now he's like this big, and now how much does he run his mouth to blue liners now? He got his mouth mashed a couple of times. It put him in check. That's what I'm talking about. They never really got rid of, I call it the dirty areas. And the dirty area is when you get those, you might get those wingers, or you might get a blue liner, and he's in that area where right in front of the goalie, where everything gets really chippy, and you got the goalie that will hit you with his stick and it hurts, those kind of things. I call that the dirty area. And they don't really change anything there. So I respect it. Because checks and balances. That's what I like about hockey. There's a lot of checks and balances. And I can understand checks and balances. Checks and balances logically make sense. So therefore, hockey makes sense. I like where they're doing. I like what they're doing. I think what they're going to, I do feel they're probably going to get a couple more teams to expand that. There's a lot of cities that would love to have a hockey team now. So I feel like moving forward, I really think that they're going to do nothing but go up. And they're going to show these other sports how to do it, just as long as they don't get blinded by the money.
Yeah, I think if you look at the sport between, let's go, the 90s and now, hockey has probably been the one that has stayed the most true to what they were then.
To their fans. To their
Yeah,
fans.
yeah, like it's just the game is still one with the speed. You still primarily have the physicality there. Yes, they have tried to clean up a little bit on the fighting and on some of the hittings. They try kind of trying to lower the target
Yeah.
area. I get it, uh, but it's still a fast physical sport. It really hasn't gone too much away from the identity that we grew up with, even going back to when the sport started.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think there's still a lot of the tradition that is in place there. And
And this
I,
is what
I
I
uh-huh,
oh, I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. I'll let you
No,
finish.
you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. And this is what I also love about hockey is that the ticket pricing hasn't went through the roof. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't agree with teams if they make it to the playoffs that their ticket price goes up. Absolutely. 100% agree with that. Don't have a problem with that. That makes sense. If your team makes it to a playoff, yeah, that environment is going to get amped and you're going to pay for that environment. I get that. But they've really kind of stayed true to their ticket pricing all the way through. And it's not like a huge hike just because you can. They raise it up based on what they feel should be right. I like it. That's the reason why I'm 85% on board with it. And as long as they stay this way, I'll stay that way. And I get it. I'm just one person. I'm not sitting here going to say, oh, well, NHL is going to base all of their pricing on how I feel. I'm not an idiot. I know they're not going to, but I like what they're doing, and I'm on board with it. Get a couple more teams in there. The way I see it is build your brand based on cities, not based on taking advantage of the people that you have teams in. You know what I mean? That to me doesn't make sense. But why they got 32 teams? Why not another 8? Why not? I like it. I think they should.
Yeah, and I'm with you with the direction of the NHL. I'm probably 85% there too with how they're going. And yeah, I'd see them adding a couple of teams. But I think right now, they're at a good, nice, sweet spot, and they're good with it. So, well, finally, Patrick, and I think this one will be interesting here. So the NBA, they're kind of in the middle, I would say, between football
And baseball.
yeah.
I'm 100% with you on that one too.
Yeah, because there's a lot of money going into the NBA, of course. It's hand over fist with the money. They're about to redo this TV rights deal that's going to be something crazy. I don't know, $76 billion or something crazy. And yeah, something stupid like that.
A lot of
And
money, man.
so, yeah. And so what bothers me about the NBA is out of all those four major sports leagues, the regular season truly does not matter in the NBA. We can't even really say that about MLB. And the MLB has 162 games, but their players play every day. MLB's players, they're starting players, with the exception of the pitcher who is on 4 or 5 days rest, whatever it is. But those players are out there every day.
Yep.
For the most part. Unless you do, like, you'll get the occasional day off. But
yeah, catchers need a day off after they squatted for about 4 days straight. Yeah, let's give them a breath. Let's give them a break because those legs are tired.
They're out there. Them cats are out there. In basketball, Patrick, these cats, it's load management all the time. If you play 65, 70 games, that's looked at as some sort of an Iron Man, which Of course, it's not, number one. But number two, back in the day, those players, it bothered them. Like it
You
literally
couldn't drag me
bothered
off the
them if they
court.
missed the game. Yeah, like it bothered them.
What?
Yeah, yeah. It was a badge of honor if you played all 82 games. Now, like, I was talking to my dad about this the other day. With these players now, you have a transition from the off season to the preseason, and then of course you get ready for the regular season. The purpose of the preseason is for you to get ready for the regular season. So you play your games, you play however many minutes. You're not going to play full minutes because you want to make sure that you just get the time in so you are ready for the regular season. That's not how it works in the NBA. The starters, most of the time, they're not playing at all during the preseason. They might play a couple of minutes, but they're not really playing at all. And then they use the first part of the regular season to get themselves into, here comes my quotes, playing shape.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so why you had all off season and you had part of the preseason to get yourself in playing shape, but you're gonna take this time when
you're gonna take the first half of the season.
Yeah, when the games are actually counting, and really you don't really start to see the quality of play get really, really amped up until what, Patrick? After the All-Star break?
I was gonna say first round of the playoffs.
Yeah. It's garbage to me. Like the way everybody has started to go about treating the regular season. I get you want to have your teams ready for the playoff run, but this when you treat the regular season like this is where you're hurting your team. And so I'll give you an example. If you are name the team, whoever it might be. Maybe let's name the New York Knicks. How about that? We'll go with the New York Knicks. So Tom Thibodeau, we know he does not play his guys. He likes to run a 7-8 man rotation. And you have all these games in the regular season to play the other dudes. So if you have what happened to the Knicks over this last playoff run, where all your starters were getting hurt, now you have to put these guys in here, and you don't really know what they can do because you didn't play them in the regular season. So now you're just kind of going on a hope and a prayer. But you had all that time in the regular season to play those players. But you want to get your starters in there, and then on top of that, you're going to load manage them. And then when you do put the players in there, you're still only playing them like 15 minutes, which is crazy. These other dudes are load managing. So,
and what's crazy is the New York is they're fine with it. And I mean, look, you want to sit somebody on the bench? You want to sit somebody on the bench for $2 million a year? Call me up, bro.
Right.
Call me up. I'm 42 years old, bro. I don't need to play. All I need is money.
The best Gatorade boy, man.
Hell yeah, dude! I would be the best hype guy you will ever see. I'd be like, "Hey, dude, have you ever even took your pants off for a game?"
No.
Hell no, I don't need to. I got Gatorade. I got pants. I high fives all day long, baby. Bam, 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 bam. I'd be like, dude, Patrick is bomb, man. Dude, he's got 12 rings. He ain't played a minute of basketball. I'd be like, flash it, baby. I don't need the time. Tom Brady a GOAT. He had to earn his rings. Guess what I did? I gave him Gatorade.
See, you're right there with the cheerleaders.
Yeah. I'll be out there dancing. All day long, man. All day long.
You're shaking it. Yeah.
$2 million? Shoot. I'll take $250. I'll take $250,000 a year. I'll be the cheapest Gatorade boy you ever have. Look, you need somebody else. Look, bro, I want to fold those chairs. No problem. Brunson, bro, don't go too far down that bench, man. I got you right here. Sit right here. I'll go down there. You're like, Patrick, like, how much money do you make? $2.5 million a year. What do you do? Nothing.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What, I got to do something?
Yeah.
I do something. I give my chair up for you.
And so with the NBA,
Chilling.
the
Chilling. Be like,
so
and you get to claim you get to work play for the Knicks. I'll be like, what do you do for a living? I play for the Knicks. Do you ever play? No.
I just wear the uniform.
Where
Just
you
wear the
from?
uniform.
I'm there. I'm there if they need me. I'm like a last resort. I'm like, I'm good with that.
And the one thing I will say
Oh, we
about
got way off topic with that one, didn't we?
it's all good. The one thing we did do, the one thing that I will say about the NBA is there does seem to be a little bit more parity in there, where you have multiple teams that can actually win a championship now.
Yeah.
I will say that. But the quality of play, I mean, you don't get any quality till it gets into the playoffs. So with that, Patrick, I'm gonna go as a rating. I'm gonna go 65 to 70% not liking the direction of the league. But there is room for improvement. I could see where it could improve. But
Yeah, absolutely.
just
And
like
with
with
that, with all the
everybody else. Yeah, and just like with everybody else at the top, they have to see it. Do not forget about your fans. Do
Yeah.
not forget about those people who are actually trying to, like, they'll save a little bit just to see if they can go to this game and try to see their favorite player if they're not load managing.
Yeah.
But
And that's hard. That's what's hardest part about. And I respect your number. I don't get me wrong. I respect the number, but I'm going to go a little higher. I'm going to go 80%. Not liking where they're going. But here's the next part of that. Not only am I not a fan with a lot of things they're doing, I'm not a fan of the fouling. The way they call fouls for the big names opposed to the smaller names. One, two, I don't like the flopping. You know, those kind of things really irk me because games cannot be called, especially good games. Like one of those good games that, I mean, we're playing, it's like 89-90 with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, man. That's a good defensive game, and that's a good offensive game. You know, at that point, you know that there's not a lot of shots, so they have to have a high percentage shooting because the defense is so good, right? We would hope. We would hope. Right? But here's my thing. Some of those calls, when they get down into those nitty-gritty minutes of the game, if it's a legit charging foul, let's call it. I'm fine with that. But if it's LeBron driving and they miss the charging call and call it a blocking foul, that is where I have my problems. Because it's LeBron driving in, it automatically goes his way. You know what I'm saying? Or when it's KD, it automatically goes his way. You know what I mean? People like Steph Curry don't get all of those calls. And I respect that more because he doesn't fight with it. He doesn't argue with it. He knows where he's at, you know, and he gets it and he understands it. So he just plays. So that's where I have the problem, even continuing past that. So I go 80%. I don't like where they're going. But here's the thing. Here's what theirs is the easiest to fix. Theirs is. All they have to do is put a couple of things in place that allows this to go smoother. And all you have to do is look at those refs and go, don't call this so one-sided. And then all of a sudden, things start going back to normal for basketball. You don't get this opportunity with football. You don't get this opportunity with baseball because these things are already set in place. It's really hard to pull those back out. With basketball, it's just talking to the refs and telling them to pull that back, pull it back some. And that's it. And it can be fixed almost to a point where I would be like 40% or I'm sorry, 60%. I like where they're going instead of 80% not liking where they're going.
Well, all right, Patrick. Well, we're going to have to wrap this up. Remind me if you can, if I don't forget, we'll talk about the gambling part next week because gambling is here. It's here to stay, and you're seeing players catching lifetime bans. So we'll talk more about that next week. But other than that, y'all, that is what we are breathing on for this show for today. Y'all make sure y'all catch or go to the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button, and follow the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. Patrick, what is going on with Bro Epic?
Well, our show will be out tomorrow, so look forward to that. I've had a lot of hard time getting this one edited. I had so much good material. It was hard for me to cut a lot of it out, but hey, it's going to be a good show. So look for the baseball challenge coming out sometime tomorrow, Wednesday, and then we have a hide and seek show that should be out in the next couple of weeks after that.
All right, so you heard Patrick. Look out for the new show coming out tomorrow, dropping tomorrow on all your social media channels. And as for us over here at Breath of Fresh Air, you know us. We're live every Tuesday evenings at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. And yeah, and
the best part, dude.
And again, be on the lookout for new things coming out from both Bro Epic and Breath of Fresh Air in the coming weeks. Circle Labor Day weekend as that time where these new things are really going to start dropping. I'm sure we'll tease a little bit of it leading up to that time, but yeah, we gonna be ready for the fall. So with that, y'all, everybody take care. Y'all have a great rest of the week, and we will talk soon. And by the way, take care of each other. All right.
Please.